Alright guys, it's been a couple weeks since I did a watch list video and I wanted to get on here and do one. It's after the holidays, we're relaxed, we're reset, we're ready to get back into the videos, the watch list videos and everything like that. So let's get right into the charts. What do you say? Okay guys, so usually what I do for the watch list is I go over the levels that I have for SPY with the gamma exposure levels that I have pulled up here. If you guys are not familiar with gamma exposure levels at all, I suggest going to my most popular videos on YouTube. I talk a lot about gamma exposure, what that means, how I use them in my trading, and how I find levels that are super accurate, how I find my price targets and stuff like that. So for the sake of this video, this is just for the people that understand what I do on a daily basis, how I find my levels and stuff like that with the data that I have pulled up here. So let's get into this. So we have here the SPY gamma exposure chart. We have the cumulative exposure is what that means is just the entire options chain expiration, all expirations for the SPY ETF, the S&P 500 ETF. And it gives us a average of all of those expirations into the gamma exposure that dealers are attested to into this chart that you have here. So the negative levels they tend to be magnets towards where price needs to go, so dealers are hedged towards those levels. So what I mean by that is usually price tends to move towards the large negative levels, and then they either get pinned to or they reject off of the positive ones. So on a weekly basis, I like to look at the weekly exposure for GEX, for SPY, because it gives me an idea of where the market is going to be going, given the exposure that market makers are in. So as you can see here, we have some white ones here. That just means that price is around those levels. So the ones at the bottom are negative levels, and then the ones above the median line here are positive. As you can see here, they're green and then red at the bottom. So price is just hovering around 690. It looks like, as you can see on the chart. We ended the week last week at 690 on the nose. So 690 is right here. We had some negative GEX levels, which price followed towards those pretty well to 689 and 690 on Friday. So we're right at a positive level now at 691. Looks like we got to 691 on Friday. If I zoom into this chart a little bit more, let me make sure you guys can see it. So it looks like we got slightly above 691 at open on Friday, and we fell back below it, and we came back up and retested 690 right here. Let me just mark it on the chart. So there's 691 there. So we are currently below that positive GEX level, as you can see here on the chart. But since this is a super negative level, I do feel like we will break through that level potentially this week. Since this is a super negative level at 692, we have a large batch of other ones as well at 693 and then 695 after that. So just given the gamma exposure chart that we see here, I do think that the market has a little bit more room to run upwards until probably about 700. 698 is the large positive one you see here, and then 700 is this next negative one. So if we do continue up, I'd be looking for a 695 price target. If we break back above 691, this level you see here on my screen, and then 695 and then 698 would be a resistance level for a potential small pullback, maybe towards that 695 level again if we keep going up. And then the ultimate target would be this large negative level here at 700 for our about probably second or third take profit level going into this week. So those are levels for the upside. Now let's talk about the downside levels if we break certain levels. So we do have a pretty big positive level at 688. If we do get a pullback to those levels, I'd kind of expect to bounce off that. But if we do manage to get below 688 and 687, which is right here, I do think we can follow all the way back down here in this big batch of negative GEX levels all the way to 678, and then potentially 677 is that next one there. So those are the downside levels I'm looking for if we break these levels here, 688 and 687, since those are positive levels. But since these ones are a little bit more strong negative, they have more pull, I do think that we'll continue this trend up that we've seen the last week or so. Obviously, it's been longer than a week, but Just the continuation move to the upside is what I'm talking about. So those are the levels for GEX. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Let's get into what do I talk about next? The economic calendar. So let me pull that up real quick. I probably should have economic. Oh man, I can't spell calendar. Should have had that pulled up already, but you know, it's Sunday. Give me a break here. I'm using ad blocker. Yes, I am. Okay, let's do this real quick. Turn off ad blocker for this website real quick. Refresh it. Sorry, guys. Okay. So let's talk about the economic calendar for this week, see what we got going on. So let's filter this down a little bit to the red folder is what we want for this week. Okay, so we do have crude oil inventories on, what day is this? Monday, the 29th. We have FOMC mini minutes, which they go over the last FOMC meeting and just break it down in the summary on that day. This could have a pretty big effect on the market depending on what they put into that minute. Wednesday we have jobs Chicago PMI, and then we have a holiday on New Year's Day. Markets will be closed on that day. I think when full day, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think it's a full day. It's not a half day like it was for Christmas Eve. So 4 full days on this week, for this week. And then Friday we have global manufacturing PMI. So that is the economic calendar. Let's go on over to the market summary here. I can't see my screen, so hopefully I clicked that right. Okay. So let's go to the options summary. Let's look at flow map, which I do like looking at. So it looks like for this next week's expiration on the 2nd of January, New Year, we have a lot of calls being sold off, which is a little bit unsettling to me. I do think we might be getting close to a near-term top, especially getting close to 700 on SPY, which is a big mental number. And usually in the New Year's, markets tend to pivot one way or the other right at the start of the new year. So what I've seen recently is there's been a pullback, especially last year. Last year there was a pullback for about 4 months up until April, then we bottomed out and then had a huge run from April to December. So be looking out for a pivot in the market. Make sure you're being safe and you're positioned well with your investments and stuff like that, because the market does tend to move the opposite way at the beginning of the year. So calls being sold off, about 44 million in calls sold for the weekly expiration on the 2nd. And let's look at one more thing before we end this video, the cheaplies. So we have some XLE Energy puts, Tesla puts for this week expiration, which catches my eye right off the bat. These ones are a little bit too small. This one for QQQ is only $1. Probably going to ignore that one. XLU might be a good one here, but this is a more so leap. So this one's a year out. But looking at XLE Energy puts and then Tesla puts, looks like NVIDIA puts as well. And there's the baby and wife. It's all right. Okay, so other than that, guys, I hope you guys have a good week. Let's keep the momentum up. We have one more week left until the new year. About 4 days until the new year, and then Friday will be the 1st or the 2nd, I think. Sorry, the 2nd. So we are going into the new year, and let's finish it off strong, guys. We've had a pretty good year for the most part, especially in the market. So again, just make sure you guys are positioned well for either a small correction or even a big correction. We're getting close to that 700 level on SPY, which is again a big mental number. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.